Hello, everybody. Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I'm Brooke Lierman, the 34th Comptroller of the state of Maryland. I even have my picture up on the wall now, so it must be true. It's great to see everybody here. Before we begin, I did want to recognize Tammy from AARP. Thanks for being here. I think Beverly Winstead was going to come. I'm not sure if she's made it quite yet. And I know Stacy Ming from the Impact Project is coming by as well. But thank you all for being here today. You know, after 2 years of traveling the state and many months of beginning to learn the inner workings of the Comptroller's office and this very complex agency, I'm excited today to outline some of my priorities for the 2023 legislative session. The bills that I'm discussing today are simply represent the legislation that I am introducing courtesy of the Senate President and the Speaker of the House. But there are also other very important bills that will help move our state forward to be more equitable, more resilient, and more prosperous. And that is our goal in the Comptroller's office. Our goal is to create communities that are more equitable, more resilient, and more prosperous all around the state. One of those bills that I've been proud to support is the expansion of the extension of the expansion of the earned income tax credit. I was also delighted to join the governor yesterday to talk about his work in the legislature, and I look forward to supporting many of his initiatives as well. So coming on the heels of releasing our transition report yesterday, I'm proud to bring 3 pieces of legislation that highlight the themes that I heard from Marylanders of all backgrounds in every corner of the state. Marylanders want fairness, responsiveness, efficiency, and transparency. These bills that we are discussing today will help modernize our infrastructure, ensure our ability to be responsive to the needs of all Marylanders, and prevent Marylanders who received unemployment insurance during the pandemic from being penalized due to the unprecedented delays of payment under the previous administration. First, I'm excited to bring legislation in partnership with our state treasurer and the Department of Management and Budget to begin the process to update our state's financial management software. Believe it or not, Maryland has the country's oldest accounting system. We use the accounting system that we're using today, still runs on COBOL. It is a mainframe system. And we need to move forward following best practices from other states to create recommendations to ensure Maryland has a top-of-the-line system that works for businesses, government entities, nonprofits, agencies, and more. Our financial management system is critical infrastructure for our state. And this work group that the bill will create will set the course for the complex undertaking. It's a big job, but that's exactly what our state needs. And we're lucky to have so many partners in the executive branch and General Assembly ready to take on this important work. Today, I'm excited to introduce Amanda Rodriguez from Turnaround to talk about why this legislation will impact her organization and other nonprofits. Come on.
Thank you, Madam Comptroller, for advocating for this important piece of legislation. My name is Amanda Rodriguez, and I'm the Executive Director of Turnaround. We are a designated rape crisis center and a comprehensive domestic violence and human trafficking service provider. We've been around since 1978 and serve Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and Howard County. The pandemic was one of the most challenging periods of time for Turnaround, even in our long history since 1978, but also for a lot of other victim service providers and nonprofits around the state. We saw dramatic increases, not just for instances of violence, but also startling increases for the level of violence that those individuals experienced. We saw increases in strangulation and near homicides in the survivors that we came into contact with. We also saw an increase in teen and adolescents that were seeking support because they were being sexually assaulted at home. Some of our data points show that the increased need was over 300%. And as an example, our average number of calls for service went from about 2,500 before the pandemic to over 10,000 calls for service in the last year. We're not seeing those numbers decrease now. Instead, they've plateaued to what is the new normal for us. The other significant challenge that we faced was financial. Agencies around us were folding because of the economic downturn. And I remember telling one of my staff as we left the office in March of 2020, just no layoffs. We've relied on our funders to help us get through a very tough period where we as service providers were quite literally living invoice to invoice. What a lot of the community doesn't realize is that nonprofits like Turnarounds work on a reimbursement system, which means that we have to expend thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, and then wait up to 60 days to be reimbursed by our funders. The majority of Turnarounds funding comes from the state. That pays for payroll, bed nights, for survivors fleeing violence, rent, and then again, we have to wait and wait and wait for that to be reimbursed. We, like many other nonprofits, do not have large reserves, and rarely banks allow us to have long lines of credit, which means that one late payment could lead to a significant and serious ramification for all nonprofits, including Turnaround. And in turn, that means that services may be delayed or even denied for our most vulnerable community members, including the thousands that we served last year and the 15 that are currently living in our emergency shelter. As early as December of this last year, we were owed nearly $500,000 by the state and local funders due to delayed payments. Nonprofits were drafting furlough policies while we were hearing announcements about the, I'm glad it sounded good, thanks. As we were hearing news stories about the unprecedented surplus that we were seeing in the state budget. The systems that's currently used by the Comptroller shows that when we have been paid or when things are not quite paid yet, but we don't have any indication of when those payments will be made based on the current system. Utilizing technology to ensure sustainability of our state service providers is necessary for the safety of those who are impacted by intimate partner sexual violence and human trafficking. And so we ask that we support this bill and move it forward so that we can in fact ensure that our nonprofits can continue to be sustainable as we serve those most vulnerable. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think Amanda's story and the information that she provided about the work that Turnaround does just is really emblematic. We have incredible nonprofits and incredible businesses in the state of Maryland that rely on our state government and on our payments for help to continue to fulfill their mission. But when our technology is old and outdated, they can't do their work because they're worried about getting paid, or in the worst of circumstances, even beginning to furlough employees while they're waiting for payments from the state. So our legislation will move the ball forward in tandem, working with our treasurer, with the Secretary of Budget and Management. We're so proud to be moving this forward to start the process of bringing new technology to our accounting system so that we can pay our states on time and do better here in Maryland. The second bill I'm excited to bring today is all about responsiveness. Everywhere I have traveled, people talk about wanting to feel like government hears them and is there when they have an issue. And while this agency is filled with incredibly dedicated public servants who are working hard day in and day out, there's always more that we can do. And we have to make sure that the systems that we have in place and the structure that we've created in the Comptroller's office is empowering the people who work in the agency to do more to serve the needs of Marylanders, and that Marylanders know who they can rely on and who they can count on in the Comptroller's office. So I'm excited today to be bringing legislation to create an Office of the Taxpayer Advocate in Maryland. An Office of the Taxpayer Advocate is a model that's used at the national level. There is a national taxpayer advocate, and many other states around the country have offices filled with taxpayer advocates. These are our champions, taxpayer champions, who work with them to solve their challenges and problems to keep them in compliance. The Office of the Taxpayer Advocate would not only provide for case management resolution, it will also help identify and overhaul systemic issues that are barriers to taxpayer success. So I'm very happy today to introduce Pablo Blanc from CASA to talk about the need for this legislation. Thanks.
Good afternoon, buenas tardes. Thank you so much. My name is Pablo Blanc. I am the Director of Immigrant Integration with CASA. CASA is the largest immigrant rights organization in Maryland, in the Mid-Atlantic, and growing nationally now. And we represent over 120,000 Black and Latino working immigrants and working families in the state and in our footprint. CASA runs VITA sites in Prince George County, Montgomery County, and Baltimore City. We prepare taxes for free for very low income taxpayers. And we prepare around 1,000 taxpayers tax files every year, and we help them to navigate the tax system that is very complex for them. Not only because many don't speak English, not only because they file taxes with ITINs or with social security numbers, cultural issues, but also they live in a different economy than most of the people, because our taxpayers who we help, they are in a cash economy. They have many clients. They don't have W-2s. They don't have 1099s or other forms. So it's very complex for them many times to put together the documentation to file taxes. And it's very difficult to find sometimes communication with the Comptroller's office to address these issues. So we really thank you, the Comptroller Lierman, for her commitment to equity and inclusion with all the taxpayers, and for her leadership working with immigrant families for a long, long time, not only in the last months or during the campaign, but for many, many years. So we are especially proud to endorse HB 707. That will be a critical step in ensuring most vulnerable Marylanders having their voice here, and also find someone in the other side of the line, or in an office to help them resolve the issues that they have. So thank you so much, and we are ready to work with you in the implementation of these bills. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And finally, we are introducing legislation that's about fairness. And in fact, this was a bill where this is an issue that was brought to me when I was still a delegate in District 46. A resident came to me and said, he was receiving his unemployment insurance payment, and yet it was being taxed. And we know that in 2020, we passed legislation because of the Relief Act that exempted unemployment insurance from taxes in 2020 and 2021. But it was not anticipated that those payments would be delayed until 2022. This legislation, the Unemployment Insurance Parity Act, creates a rebate program to pay back Marylanders who had taxes taken out of their payments. This will increase fairness in the system. Beyond fairness, it's also much needed help for a population of Marylanders that experienced extreme economic hardship. I'm so excited today to introduce Giavante Hawkins from the Maryland Society of Accounting and Tax Professionals, and Ben Orr from the Maryland Center on Economic Policy, to talk about this issue. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Comptroller Lierman, for having me today. My name is Giavante Hawkins, and I am so glad to be here today representing the Maryland Society of Accounting and Tax Professionals. Our membership of 2,000 CPAs and other tax professionals represents over 700,000 Marylanders. We are proud to advocate for fairness in the tax system for our members and all Marylanders. We are here to provide brief remarks in support of Comptroller Lierman's bill to ensure that there is tax parity for Marylanders whose unemployment insurance payments were delayed, causing them to owe taxes due to no fault of their own. While the current leadership of the Department of Labor is doing everything they can to repair a broken system, unfortunately, too many people in the last few years had their payments delayed when they needed help the most. Due to these massive delays, anyone qualified for unemployment insurance in 2020 or 2021, but was not paid until 2022, lost additional money as they also had to pay taxes. Comptroller Lierman's legislation will create a rebate program to refund the taxes paid on unemployment benefits received in 2022, and will make sure that those individuals whose benefits were delayed are treated fairly, just like those who were paid out in 2020 and 2021. The state has the opportunity to right a wrong done by individuals who experienced economic hardship during the COVID-19 pandemic. And we are proud to support the Comptroller's advocacy on behalf of those individuals. It's a pleasure being here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Comptroller Lierman. Again, my name is Benjamin Orr. I'm the founder, president, and CEO of the Maryland Center on Economic Policy. We're a nonprofit, nonpartisan think tank that believes every Marylander should be able to achieve their full potential in a healthy economy. that offers a widely shared and rising standard of living. And one of the top priorities to make that vision possible is to make our tax system more equitable. HB 708 SB 661 is a straightforward bill that restores a tax benefit that some workers who went through a period of unemployment missed out on through no fault of their own. The General Assembly did the right thing for unemployed workers by exempting unemployment insurance payments from the state income tax in the 2021 Relief Act, given the extraordinary circumstances that the state faced at the time. The decision to make this exemption temporary also created a reasonable balance between supporting workers amid historic economic turmoil with the need to maintain state revenues to meet Marylanders' long-term needs. However, as we all know, massive administrative failures driven by years of staff and budget cuts left some workers waiting months for the benefits they were owed and desperately needed. Adding insult to injury, workers who had to wait until 2022 to receive their payments are not eligible for the Relief Act tax benefit. And while it is too late to undo the months of hardship and anxiety that unemployed workers faced as they waited for those delayed benefits, this bill would make a meaningful difference for those affected workers. The bill is simple. It requires the comptroller to make a one-time grant payment to workers who lost the tax exemption due to at least 30 days of administrative delay, equal to the amount of tax benefits they lost. This straightforward fix ensures that the Relief Act is implemented as intended and won't have a long-term impact on state finances. Fairness is an important principle of our tax system, and we thank Comptroller Lierman for introducing and advocating for this common sense approach to support working families.
And then finally today, I'm excited to introduce Robin McKinney, founder and CEO of the Cash Campaign of Maryland. Many of you know of the work of the Cash Campaign. It's an incredible partner to many of the organizations up here and certainly to the Office of the Comptroller as well. So I've been so pleased to work with Robin over the years as a delegate, and I'm excited to make sure that the Comptroller's Office and the Cash Campaign strengthens their partnership for the benefit of all Marylanders in the years to come.
Thank you so much, Comptroller Lierman. I'm Robin McKinney. I'm the co-founder and CEO of the Cash Campaign of Maryland. We're a statewide nonprofit that promotes the economic advancement of low to moderate income individuals and families in Baltimore City and across the state. We do taxes, a lot of them with CASA and with other partners in 14 counties across the state. In a pandemic year, we're serving about 15,000 people a year, but our sort of high watermark was 25,000. Taxes getting done for free, that's free 99 across the state through a lot of volunteers and other folks. What we heard from the comptroller today and from the other partners is that we have a real opportunity to fix systems to make them more fair for individuals, for businesses, and for the people that rely on the state. Each one of these bills comes together to hit a different part of the problem, and we are really excited that in her first term, that Comptroller Lierman is already coming with us. From the making sure that nonprofits get paid on time through a system that works. Our own organization was also impacted. We had $200,000 of state funds held up over a $15 Department of Labor payment that they hadn't told us about. And it was the Comptroller's Office that had to find it and fix the problem. So we know that nonprofits need to get paid on time. People need to get paid on time. So that is where the taxpayer advocate system really comes in to make sure that people have someone to help them to navigate these really complex situations. A lot of the low-income people that we serve might have an occupational license that gets caught up. I just had someone this weekend, that was trying to transfer a car title and had a flag from an ex. And so these things are really complex. So to know that there's a partner within the Comptroller's Office to help them navigate is really important. And for unemployment, this is a safety net program. We shouldn't be kicking people when they're down and making sure that, we had these unprecedented delays. It's a new day in Annapolis. It's a new day in the state. We know that we're going to fix that moving forward, but we have to do right by the folks that are getting these payments now. So thank you so much, Comptroller Lierman, for your leadership, and we look forward to supporting all these bills.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm so proud to introduce these three pieces of legislation for my first bills as Comptroller of the state of Maryland, because they represent the values that I'm bringing to the office, and that I'm so proud of to be working with these great organizations on fairness, making sure we have a fair and equitable tax administration in the states, right? Ensuring that we're advocates for the people of Maryland, making sure we have that taxpayer advocate office in the state, and partnership. Being a good partner to our nonprofits, to our businesses, to make sure that the processes and the systems that exist in the office of the comptroller work for the people and the businesses of Maryland. So thank you all for being here today. I'm excited to work with you to pass all these bills. Thank you. Yep.
Madam Comptroller, I didn't see a fiscal note on any of the bills.
I don't think we have one yet.
Absorbed by your office. I know creating a task force probably would result in much money. The taxpayer advocate within your office certainly wouldn't. But any of those bills have a revenue stream?
So the taxpayer advocate bill will add several positions to the office to make sure that we can fully staff the office, as well as thinking through the online strategy. So we'd like to bring someone in who can make sure that our online systems are working better for Marylanders. I think if you look at our website right now, you'll see that we need to update our website, and we want to make sure that the taxpayer advocate website within the comptroller's office website has information that people need and find useful. And then the Unemployment Insurance Parity Act will have a fiscal note because we'll be rebating taxes that were already paid to individuals. We believe that on average, impacted Marylanders would receive about $250, which is very similar to the size of course, all the other Relief Act payments. And some might be more depending on their uninsurance claim and the taxes that they paid.
Do you have an estimate on how much money would be rebated?
We expect it to be in the millions, but we do not have a final fiscal note yet.
And do you have an estimate on how much in back payments nonprofits could receive?
Well, so the back payments are being made to nonprofits. The legislation that we're working on right now is not to rebate money to nonprofits. The modernization bill that we have on creating a new financial management information system in the state of Maryland creates a governing structure so that we can move forward on working to bring in new technology to the state to update our accounting system. And this is something that will take years. This is a massive undertaking, a huge system. And so it's important, we believe, or I believe, to have legislation to make sure that there's transparency and accountability for bringing this forward. And the fiscal note on that is not for the work group, of course, it's for the investment in the new technology.
Last session, Senator Hester and former Delegate Young sponsored cybersecurity legislation to modernize systems across the executive branch. Does your modernization bill fit in with that?
It's exactly following what Senator Hester and Young want to do. So Senator Hester has been an incredible leader on modernizing and pushing agencies to modernize and take cybersecurity concerns into account. And we've met with her. And so this bill sets up the governing structure to do exactly what she envisions the state and knows that the state needs to do, right? Which is to move off of the mainframe and into the cloud and do it in a secure way. So absolutely.
I guess my question, just to follow up, is what is the need for a separate modernization bill?
So the bill itself is not a modernization bill. The bill is to set up the council, the group of people who will be in charge of overseeing this, and to set up required reporting so that the General Assembly and members of the public are aware of the steps that we're taking as we go through the RFP process, as we're talking with all the agencies, all the schools in the university system of Maryland, all the components of MDOT, so that there's a clear precedent, or we are setting sort of a clear line in the sand that this is happening, that all agencies and everybody involved needs to be of one mind moving forward. So it's putting the General Assembly's imprimatur on the need to do this. Any other questions? Great. Thank you all for coming. Great to see you. Have a great afternoon. Thanks, everyone. Can we get a quick photo? Yeah.